polyphenols. So, if you're just trying to consume as many plant foods as you possibly can with the hopes that they'll increase your health outcomes, and you're going to be some kind of magic healthy person just because you're, spending all your money on these plant foods, that's probably not a winning strategy, because they all have various different effects in the body, and more polyphenols doesn't actually mean better. A lot of people actually have food intolerances which can be triggered by certain foods, and aiming to get these polyphenols from these plants, if you happen to be intolerant to these foods, which you'll only be able to find out if you do an elimination diet, and most people, they just sincerely discredit the possibility of having intolerances, which is very bad. Crohn's disease, arthritis, lots of problems can be caused. Crippling health problems can be caused by food intolerances. But if you eat these foods and you happen to be intolerant to them, that's not good. And you're going to be causing yourself a lot more harm from the effects of the intolerance to that food, rather than getting any kind of benefit whatsoever from the polyphenols. For example, in the case of red peppers, like cayenne pepper, high in vitamin C, and also contain a phytochemical known as capsicum, if I'm pronouncing that right, which gives it the spiciness and also tends to increase endorphins, and can also have direct antibiotic properties. I find capsicum to be excellent medicine for people who are suffering with a fever, have some kind of respiratory infection, or want to decongest their respiratory tract in general. But at the same time, that same compound can actually trigger arthritis in many people, including myself. And many nightshade vegetables, due to the solanine content, can do that as well. And so I'm a huge advocate of using these foods as medicine. And if I have a congestion or a respiratory infection that seems to be coming along, believe me when I say I will boil myself some cayenne pepper tea. And I've done that many times before, and it sounds crazy. And I will drink it and I'll sniff the steam for the medicinal effect. But for the years that I was consuming cayenne pepper in my diet, to try to boost vitamin C and for the antioxidants and the polyphenol content, I had crippling arthritis from all my workouts, and even when I take a week off. And when I remove nightshades and I remove the cayenne pepper, immediately the arthritis goes away. And a lot of people find this to be the truth for them as well. And so, does that mean I'm against nightshade vegetables? Absolutely not. Does that mean I'm against polyphenols? No. What this means is, look, polyphenols have their place and they're very beneficial. But polyphenols are context dependent, and plant foods and food in general is going to entirely depend on what type of intolerances do you have. Do you get arthritis that's triggered by these foods, and have you actually fully gone on an elimination diet where you logged all your food? Because most people, they just assume things like, oh, I have adrenal fatigue, it's probably the inflammation from the milk I'm drinking. No one really knows until they log their food, but that's the one thing people won't do. So keeping a food diary and logging your food to find elimination diets is very powerful. And so for those who can eat the peppers without arthritis, well, it's a great source of vitamin C. They can increase their endorphins from the capsicum content, and I believe cayenne pepper is also very high in lycopene, which can have beneficial effects on neutralizing free radicals in the prostate, reducing prostate cancer risk and things of that nature, and increasing circulation throughout the body, increasing your nitric oxide and reducing the risk of heart disease. Probably also stimulating the mind due to increasing the blood flow to the brain, and also acting as an aphrodisiac and increasing circulation down to the genitals. So some of the benefits of cayenne pepper versus if you have arthritis that's triggered by the solanine content, right? So, this goes for all polyphenols and all plant foods. It's the same principle. So people who ask me, You know, like, oh, what is your recommendations for carbs? Or what are your recommendations for plant foods? Or are you against them? Or whatever. Like, even questions along the lines of, well, what is your opinion on the carnivore diet? They all have to do with this main premise, is that if you have food intolerances, remove those foods that trigger those problems. If you have food intolerances, remove those foods that cause that problem. And if you're like, well, where am I going to get my magnesium? Where am I going to get my polyphenols? You better get those things from foods that don't trigger autoimmune symptoms, okay? Or digestive problems or things. If you have gas and bloating and pain in your abdomen, you need to find out what's causing that. So, with that being said, I'm going to try to keep it to a minimum. Leave your opinions and your question comments down below, and I'll talk to y'all next time.